Good morning. Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, February 21st, 2026. I'm Harvey Free. We've got an unbelievable show set up for you. I'll start off with Harry Glantz to my right.
Good morning, everybody out there. It is February 21st, and we're going to talk about it, Harvey. The market, contrary to popular belief, is hot right now. The real estate market is hot. We're going to talk about it. Multiple offers coming in. Overpriced. It's crazy out there. Again, don't waive any inspections, but we'll get into it, Harv.
Let's go around the room here. Of course, Becky Alley way over there with the New York Yankees hat. I have no idea why. You style.
I mean, yes, it's good matches, but I also am rocking my 1999 Hall of Fame hoodie. So shout out to my goats of Lincoln Park High School, 1999. We just got inducted into the Hall of Fame on Thursday, so that was really cool. So shout out to my girls.
I saw that, the rail splitters, man.
Yeah.
Lincoln Park down there.
They were tough in softball. They were a tough team to beat. And of course, Lisa Lawson over here representing northern Macomb County and all around southeast Michigan. Hey, Lisa.
Hey, morning, everybody. How you doing?
Introduce our fine guest, of course, you brought in.
We brought Amy Cairns back in. Last time she was here, we started talking about some topics that we definitely want to finish up with them and get people more detail. And she works at Realty Executives Hometown out in Shelby Township, out by me.
That's great.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, Amy. I mean, definitely, whether you're speaking to first-time buyers or seasoned investors, second-time buyers, the narrative for the end of February 2026 has been cautious optimism as we see improving affordability, and the rates have been very, very good. So that's a good step in the right direction. And Amy, you'll tell us all about our homes prices just a little bit more stable now and this great opportunity for these buyers to get in and make offers.
They are, but we are seeing multiple offers right now. It's really exciting. We're packing out our open houses, and it's a great time to go shopping.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Amy. And everybody thought, because the weather was so bad, and we're only talking about myopically here in southeastern Michigan, the market's been very strong. Home sales have been very strong. Multiple offers, over list prices, market, houses going really, really quickly. This week we talk about real life situations. Real life, Harvey, right now in our area, people are going out, they're shopping, they're putting in offers. People are even having, and Amy and I talked about it, open houses, and they're pulling back on the open houses because on a Thursday, they're getting 4, 5, 6, 10 offers, and they're pulling it off the market for the weekend. They're saying, my favorite phrase, highest and best Sunday at 5 o'clock, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, go into that, Amy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're looking at lots of offers. So it's always good for buyers to really have put in some research, have their realtor go over all their options with them so that they're putting in an offer with a strong pre-approval and all the right terms that are favorable to the sellers.
And making an offer promptly. If it's a house that you really like, Amy and I, especially this past month, I think we've done, I don't even know, 6 or 7 open houses, like multiple days. Will be like a Thursday, Friday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And we've had to cancel, which is fine. That's not a bad thing, the last day, because they've already decided to accept an offer. And what ends up happening is someone's like, oh, you have an open house for 2 or 3 days? Well, we'll hold off and we'll wait. We'll think about it. We'll crunch all our numbers. And the next thing you know, they go to make the offer maybe on Saturday, which would have been the last day of the open house, to find out it's been canceled and an offer has been accepted. So yes, the market is hot. Yes, you may have a tiny bit more time than you did 2 years ago, but you don't have all the time in the world. You still have to have a sense of urgency when you're out there. And if it's a home that you're very serious about, you don't have the luxury of waiting 3-4 days to crunch numbers and think about it and sleep on it again. You will lose out on that property. And it's happened, how many times in the past month even? Handful of times already.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that is, I will say that's true. I mean, because right now the buyers, they do want to run every single solitary scenario they can. And depending on where the property is located, you do have to get in there and be aggressive. Right. So the point is to have the hard, deep dive conversations up front. So that way we can make sure that once you're in there in that open house, you actually can make a bona fide offer, be confident about it, know what you're getting into.
Yeah, that's great. And I believe that. I believe Amy said it perfectly. You have to have your pre-approval going in. Do your homework. If you like an area, you have a pre-approval, we do them. And when we say pre-approval, we say it's AUS, Automated Underwriting System approved. It is bona fide approval. None of this whatever they call it in those days, Harvey, I don't even know what they call it.
Pre-quals and stuff.
I don't even know what they're called.
What does that word even mean?
I don't even know what that means. So
John,
we give people a piece of paper that is mortgage approved. You're done. And market's hot. Don't wait. Have had a lot of people right now, Harvey.
Yeah, speaking of, I think we got a caller coming in.
Yeah, the spring home buying season's already kicking off, and effectively it's launching a little early here at the end of February. And caller Mike from Troy, you've got a question about selling your house. Go ahead, sir.
I do. I'm planning to move soon. and timing is very open, but I don't know if it's too soon to put my house up. My other question is, how much of tip-top shape does it need to be in? Because the kids moved out. There's still a little bit of clutter in the house. There's a bedroom door that needs to be fixed a little bit. How tip-top shape do I need to get it ready?
I feel like those are great questions for Amy, girl.
Yeah. Hi, Mike. Thanks for calling in. Well, absolutely. The first thing I'm going to say is you plan on moving. So first thing I recommend that you start packing up some of the excess in the home because you're going to have to pack it anyways. And it really gives people that sense of, we want them to really experience your house and not be distracted by your personal belongings. Along with that, removing any family portraits, things like that. And you might not want those in your photos all over the internet as well. And I always say fresh and clean goes a long way. So that's really important to have your house really fresh and clean.
Okay, and then your other question was the timing of it, right? So, like, if it's too soon. So, like, what is your overall goal? Like, are you guys upsizing, downsizing, right-sizing, we will call it? Like, because, like, obviously the spring market is right around the corner. Obviously, it's happening right now. We talk about it all the time where, like, it's been very active. So what would be, like, too soon for you to sell the house? Like, if you put it up and you sold, are you ready to sell it in 30 days?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Do you have a place to
ready.
go?
I'm downsizing.
Okay.
I'm going to be moving out of town, so I'll be renting a place.
So all the more reason, get her done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say you have to fix the door. If you need a coat of paint, you need a coat of paint. Clean up the rooms, get the clutter off the floor, because when people come in there, and especially if somebody makes an offer and an appraiser comes in there, you don't want the house a mess, period. And you don't want anything in disrepair because it'll get called out anyway. So you might as well go ahead and do it. And it sounds like the house is going to sell pretty quickly, and you can go.
And we will get Amy
I
to
hope so.
Hey, Mike, we're going to get Amy to give you a call right after the show because I think she's got the right temperament to get in there and be extremely truthful with you on going over the market analysis.
Absolutely.
And really going over what other homes have sold for and the condition of those properties. You get a professional real estate agent in there, and it's just night and day. And definitely Amy will be following up with you after the show. And we'll get you all set up for maybe getting that house on the market sooner than later, which is real exciting.
It's almost like Harry's favorite line to say, what are you waiting for? You know, so that I appreciate that call by Mike because, you know, like I understand the question really is what he wasn't saying. And I was going to kind of go back to him was, you know, he's thinking like, what's top dollar, right? If I wait 30 more days, is it going to net me another $1,000? No, it's not.
It's the condition of the house and the price point.
Correct.
He could get top dollar now. I mean,
yeah, that's my point. Yeah, so like,
exactly.
His thought, like,
why wait?
If I wait and sell in July, I'm going to get more money. No, you're not. It is what it is in a lot of these situations, and people are being very competitive in this winter market. And like we've been, like even the winter months, you're just as busy in the summertime.
It's all about the
you get
right
less.
price point. If you're trying to get people to, I don't want to say if you're trying to have like multiple offers, the smartest way to do that, and Amy and I have gone through this multiple times with clients who are crunching numbers. In fact, the last one that she sold yesterday, I believe the closing was, right?
Yes.
People will say, I want top dollar or what top dollar. And they have this idea that if they list it for the top dollar, it'll only go up for there. Maybe somebody will underbid. And that's really not how it works. If you want top dollar, you have to price it at the market price competitively. That means if you think your house is maybe might sell for $230, possibly at the top end, you don't start it at $230, you start at $224,900. Guess what? We just did this, and that house sold for $232?
$232, yeah.
$7,000 more than asking. So there's a way to get multiple offers, and it isn't starting at the top. And what sometimes people will say, oh, look, I really want $230. Let's list it at $239.9 and see what happens.
I feel like that's so stale. That's
and
done.
let me tell you, everybody, how many?
It's like Price is Right pricing.
Exactly. And guess what? That house sits. And all of a
Come
sudden,
on down.
Right. Yeah. All the house sits. Nobody's making offers. They keep walking through it. There's no negative feedback, but nobody's going in because nobody wants to be the first one to go, hey, I'm going to offer you $225 for that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Pricing it correctly for the market is, I think, the one, besides the condition of the home, the most important thing you can do to get offers, get multiple offers, and get your home sold.
Yeah, and I want to talk about, like, say something about, like, she mentioned feedback, right? So, like, let's just say you have a house, you do this open house, and it's not selling. You know, are you finding that sometimes, like, is it frustrating when agents don't give back the feedback when you're like, there's something wrong? Like, I mean, I know that's kind of like not I don't want to say taboo, but like, what does that really feel like if you're not getting the feedback from your peers?
Right. Well, I actually do the extra step. I call everyone after a
Okay.
show. When I have a listing, I feel it's my responsibility to the seller. I want to call every agent, and they'll answer the phone for another agent, have a conversation. So then I can give them the valuable feedback. And if we're priced too high, it is imperative that we make a correction sooner versus later, because what's going to happen if it sits on the market too long, then it puts out this perception. Well, what's wrong with that house? Why has it been on the market 30 days?
Amy,
What's
I
going
love
on?
that from you. I do. I love it because it always comes down to it's priced too high. They could say, well, we don't like the bathroom and it's too small in the kitchen and this and the bed. No, it's priced too high. But they don't lead with the price is too
Correct.
high most
Yeah.
of the time. They always say there's something else.
Well, there was a
but the price is
faucet.
too high. Right.
Because we
right.
have this,
It's
politics
always
of
about
being
the
nice,
price.
Correct.
and
Yeah.
and we're always afraid to insult somebody. You don't want to say something bad about somebody's house. You have to realize these agents have no connection emotionally to these homes, and I think that the homeowners want the feedback, right?
definitely.
But I think everyone's afraid to say, I don't like this or I don't like that. So they just
But
don't say
that's-
anything.
That's why I appreciate Amy, and I want to
Right.
hear her take on it, because you really are so good about disarming those, like that kind of mentality, because you can go directly to the point and say what you have to say, but you don't have to be aggressive or angry about it, right? It is what it is. Tell me so I can lead my clients in a better direction. And, I really appreciate how you can disarm someone and have those tough conversations in a very eloquent way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to keep the lines open all morning long, 248-539-9797. It's a rare opportunity maybe for some buyers. If the house has been on the market for 3 or 4 or 5 weeks, now we get into this. Maybe there's an opportunity to offer some sellers concessions or at least ask for them. So we'll break that down a little bit more. We'll be right back, 248-539-9797. Keep it here. Alrighty, we are back live here in the studio. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, 26th year. We're giving you great information about mortgages and real estate. Lots of talent in the room this morning, of course. Amy Cairns joins us, and she's a great real estate agent out there at Realty Executives Hometown. And, of course, you do it all across Southeast Michigan. If you guys have a question about mortgages or real estate, this is the show. We always answer it all. And we are brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding and, of course, proudly powered by CMG Home Loans, NMLS 1820, Equal Housing Lender. All right, we got open lines 8:15. If you're joining us, let's dive back into what is going on. Is this an early, again, we thought these winter months starting in December, because it got really cold real quick, we thought for sure that it was going to be one of these little bit slower times, and then buyers had this opportunity. But the truth is, Amy, as you're out there every day in the trenches, if that house is really ready to go, it's painted, it's decluttered, you can get top dollar for it. And I think that's the key with all the top agents. They're really telling these sellers, look, let's present the house the best possible way we can right at the beginning.
Even in a blizzard.
Absolutely, yeah. We've had open houses in the blizzard. I had 20 people.
No joke.
On a Wednesday. It was a Wednesday night open.
In a blizzard.
Yeah.
Like, it's nuts. It's real nuts.
So conversely, what happens when it snows and you have 2 feet of snow on the ground? Then all of a sudden it starts raining and it's 45 degrees out and the snow melts, right?
Yep.
65 around here.
So then you send the reinspection person out there because there were repairs, right? Mm-hmm. So now all of a sudden this causes a lot of other issues. So by the same token, you have properties that are pristine on the market, and then you have properties that were shown and it's the snow and ice is covered up all the hidden, I'm going to use the word defects, in the property, and we send these people back out there. So, Amy, my magic question to you on this is, why would we ever allow an appraiser and inspector in a house without going there first to see if there's standing water in the basement, if there are critter holes around the foundation, if gutters aren't fixed? I mean, why do people show houses like that?
Yeah, well, it's because people need houses right now. They're definitely showing, and you can't overlook that home inspection. That's a key piece to uncover any defects, as you put it.
Yeah, but if I'm a homeowner, I'm checking my house first before I'm going down the basement to see if there's standing water. In a lot of cases, Becky, we've had it, you and I, there's standing water in that basement.
Like, this is a public service announcement. Even if it's not your primary home and it's an investment property,
'Cause you're not
these
there,
things
yeah.
are going to come up. Conventional loans. So when they're like, oh, we're only going to accept conventional. Conventional does not mean that they're not going to flag these certain defects. It's at appraiser's discretion. If there is a gaping hole in the wall, they are going to say it. They might say the value is as is, but they're definitely going to take a picture of this gaping hole or this water standing somewhere. And then the underwriters, if they're going to do their due diligence, because they're also looking at this appraisal. It's not like, oh, the as is box is checked, I'm moving on. They're looking at these pictures, and the underwriter has the discretion to then say, what is this? This is a health and safety concern. The integrity of the house is compromised. This needs to be fixed, and it has to be addressed. And sometimes there's agents that will get a little bit frustrated about that. Well, it's an appraisal, it's as is. And I feel like there needs to be like a little bit more of an education piece, with some agents on that fact, because it's not the lender. It's not us versus everybody else. But at the same time, if there's ever a foreclosure or any of that nature, we have to make sure that when we're the majority of the investor, because we are 90% of the time, we have to make sure that house is of sound mind and body of its own integrity.
Right. It's a collateral issue. People's like, I don't understand what that means. It's like, we have to protect the collateral. You're not going to buy a car with a rusted out bottom, and Fred Flintstone it around with your feet. That's not the point.
Lisa, Becky, Harvey, Amy, nobody knows the guidelines better than we do. Okay. To the word in the guidelines. And there's certain things we can do. There's certain things we can't do. And Lisa, nobody's going to challenge you on the guidelines. So when you get that phone call, how do you approach it with somebody when they say, hey, as is inspection? I mean, what do you tell them?
I'm a guideline junkie, as everybody knows.
We love
and I
that.
Pretty much, depending on the scenario, what exactly we're looking at, I, at the ready, within about 2 seconds, I'm pulling up the guideline, reading it verbatim, and explaining to them what that means. It's not only to protect the seller. Everyone's like, oh, you're trying to kill the deal. Nobody is trying to kill any deals with this. We are trying to protect the seller from a liability issue, because no seller wants to try to sell a home and get sued later. Let's get real. We're trying to protect our buyer for a collateral issue. When somebody moves into a home, whether it's an investment property or primary residence, they are expecting to get a home that they can live in, right? I mean, sometimes, yes, people have projects and whatever, but we need to make sure that the foundation is strong, that the roof is on and that it's not going to blow off, that we're not going to have water issues, damage, mold, things that are catastrophic.
Yeah, they're money pits. A house could be a money pit, and it destroys everything about the borrower's love for that home.
So, okay, so basically, like to our listeners, when you hear us talk about guidelines, think about it like it's the rules of the game.
Correct.
Okay? There is certain rules that are in place that we cannot deviate from, but you can also, I can read the rules of a game. And you can read the rules of a game, and I'm going to interpret it however I want, right? It depends on what you're wanting to see, right? So then
you should see my family play Uno.
Yeah,
we have a lot of interpretations.
Then we have this progressive conversation with our underwriter to make sure that I'm interpreting what I'm reading the way that Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, VA, USDA is truly intending for these words to be interpreted, and then we have to, translate it for our referral partners to make sure that everyone's on the same page, because it's very important that everyone is in alignment with that, because we're here, like Lisa said, we're here to make sure that we are serving the community, we're serving our partners, we're serving our borrowers in the highest level possible to get to the end result. And sometimes you got to walk away from it because it's just not there.
Yeah, guidelines are just guidelines. And you think about it, is that if you're playing the game, there's going to be an official involved, whether it's a referee, whether it's an umpire. And that's what the underwriter is, okay? The underwriter's calling the balls and strikes. And it might be a little bit outside, and they might call it a strike. Or it might be over the plate, and they might call it a ball. So the bottom line is that we have to go ahead and interpret it. You like that, Harv?
Yeah.
That as an underwriter, we know the guidelines. And we've signed off on a lot of files that I would say if it's a 50-50, we're going to win the 50-50. But we can't push the envelope so far to where the health and safety issues are overlooked and undermines the integrity of the property and of the buyer and the seller. So we have to put all that together, and that's so boring, and that's such bad radio.
I want to bring up something.
Such bad radio.
I want to bring up something that I came across. This is not a transaction of ours, okay? But it came across to my desk over a referral partner that I use. So it was a buyer that I originally pre-approved, and then for whatever reason, things get. He ended up with a different lender. Someone snuck in, and it is what it is, right? So now they're in the middle of this transaction. They call me. They are trying to buy an investment property in Auburn Hills, okay? And it's zoned R1, okay, which is residential.
One, yeah.
Yep. But it's a 4-unit property. And they didn't do their due diligence, so they didn't understand that you cannot buy a 4-unit investment property in one of these zonings because they are trying to eliminate any short-term rentals in those areas. And I guess also the city did not have their property zoned as a 4-unit. It was converted somewhere. They bought it on a land contract originally back in the 80s, and it was never really properly documented within the city. So now they're like neck deep in this transaction, and they're like, Becky, what can we do? And I read about it, and I looked at the thing, and I was like, it is what it is. I mean,
cash.
I'm like, it's cash, or they would. I was like, but at the same time, you can't get a permit. You can always convert it back to a single family because you can do long-term rentals in this area, but they do not want short-terms, and they will not allow you to have 4 units. So the point that I'm bringing up is when there's a lot of people that are reaching out to us because they want to expand their real estate portfolio, and there's certain cities in Michigan because they want to get away from these Airbnbs. Like Rochester Hills is a big one as well, where they are trying to kind of just get you away from the multi-units because they want people that are going to be occupying these properties as primary residents. So if you are trying to build your real estate portfolio in a certain city, you have to do your due diligence to make sure that these are not zoned where you are going to be enabled to do that.
Really, that's a good buyer beware, definitely.
Yes.
Good stuff. Keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket because we got tons to share with you all the way till 9 o'clock. Then, of course, Mike Stone, he's out there. He'll be joining us, talking sports the rest of the day here. Negotiation power. I think it's so key, Amy. Let's just circle back to you as the people you're working with, that not only do they have these great communication skills, but they understand the business so deeply. And again, it turns out that it looks like since 2019, we've had more negotiations where more buyers bought under the list price. So how important it is when you're working with these buyers to understand how much they have, and you're looking at a house, and that house can't be a money pit. So you're looking at the roof, and you already know they're coming in at 3% down, and the roof might need to be replaced in the next couple of years. That's where this negotiation powers and the skill that you have to talk with the sellers really comes to play.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we really need to look at all aspects of negotiation. We need to look at that inspection report, see what we find there. And a lot of times there is a need to go back and renegotiate depending on what the findings are.
we see different things on purchase agreements. Like I just got one, and sure enough, it said something about, well, the flood insurance could be switched over to the new family, the new purchasers, they can buy it. Meanwhile, no paperwork has been sent. That the solar panels have to be paid off in full.
That's a big
and
one, too.
we've got a date as a closing date. Let's say it's mid-March, and I'm looking at this saying, how come these things aren't even already addressed? Where's the paperwork? Where's the warranty on the solar panels that are going to be paid off? And there's so much more that goes into real estate. Folks, I keep saying it. If you don't work with someone who's seasoned in professionals, they better have a seasoned professional assistant, a mentor, really working with them. I think it's really the key about real estate. There's so many agents, so many lenders out there too, but finding the right ones that are going to really benefit you is just so key.
Well, future assessments too, Harvey, on a property. Let's say you have road assessment. Let's say you have roof assessments. You know, you in a condo association, there's roofing or there's streets in a subject's neighborhood where they're going to be assessed fully. You know, you have to know these things, and realtors know these things. If they know the neighborhood, they should know it. But also, what I want to get into is when somebody wants to talk. If you have a consumer, you know, have a client, they want to talk. You know, they're experts all of a sudden in real estate and in mortgages and in title work and everything. I could tell you this: that when I go into my doctor's office, I don't go on WebMD the night before and then diagnose myself and then talk to the doctor about what he's going to do. I kind of go in there and I listen to what he or she has to say, and I go with what they have to say. Now, might I get a second opinion? I might. If I'm smart, I will. Well, you know, if you have a realtor and they're telling you things, I would not walk in with a realtor in a meeting and start espousing, you know, realtor cliche sayings to my professional realtor. And I wouldn't do that with a mortgage either. And I don't like it when clients do that, okay? If you want to go ahead and check me. But don't, you know, you're talking a language you really don't understand.
And so much has changed.
Yeah, so I will say this. I get more emails now. You know, like people are like looking to get pre-approved, and the questions that they're sending me in these emails, it's like straight out of AI, right? So like the chat GPT, is like chat GPT, right? And then so I'm looking at these questions. I'm like, if I were to answer these questions as profoundly as you took them off of,
you'd shoot me.
You would not understand what I was
Right.
communicating back to you. So it's like you got to bring it down. You have to understand. So like, technology is there to help you and serve you.
Yeah.
What makes you a professional is that you're able to explain it in a way that anyone can understand. And giving people a vocabulary lesson is not a true level of intelligence.
No.
It's just not.
Exactly.
All right, so much more to share with you. 827 if
So
you're driving around
frustrating.
town. Keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate and Business Show. 248-539-9797. We'll be right back. Alrighty, welcome back to the show. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. Always bringing you some great information about mortgages, real estate, what to do, who to hire, all those great things. We talk about appraisals, flood insurance, and everything under the sky when it comes to real estate. We'll take your calls, 248-539-9797. Harvey Freed, Harry Glanz, Becky Alley, Lisa Lawson, and Lisa, you brought in Amy Cairns, of course, a great real estate agent who's constantly busy. Amy,
Yes.
always. So we got lots to share still
It's
on
like
the real
number
estate
one in our
side.
office last year. I'm going to brag on her.
All right. Good stuff.
For
And she's a nice person.
She's
And
very
she's a
nice.
great guy.
Very
That's
nice
Realty
person.
Executives hometown, of course, all across Southeast Michigan. And we've got
Yeah.
the bridal show is back in town down at Ford Field. Lise, tell us
Yep.
all about
so
it.
Ford Field, the bridal celebration show is tomorrow from 12 until 4. And Amy and I will be there explaining to home buyers or hopefully potential home buyers why future spouses need to get houses. So we have a program called Home Funded, and it is tailor-made for newly engaged couples who are trying to, come onto a path of home ownership, and they might have a little difficulty with wedding expenses to save. And this is pretty much like crowdfunding to buy a home. It's a phenomenal program. We actually started working with quite a few people last year on this. And it gives them a lot of opportunity to save and get matching funds, including up to a $2,000 grant towards closing costs.
You can put this on your shower invitations.
You can
with
put it on your wedding
all the
shower
information,
invitations.
all
And I
that.
tell people too, it's not just, yes, it's great for weddings. It's great for graduations. It's great for anybody. But in essence, it works with, so say we tell people at your wedding invites, you put this little QR code, right? And instead of asking for, pots, pans, and whatever else people ask, you ask them to donate towards your home fund. We then match it 2-to-1. So if somebody gives you $50 and say, "Oh, here's your $50," we give you $100. So now you have $150.
That's the key right there, is that we
It
will match
grows.
up to
It's really exciting.
$2,000.
Yes.
Up to what?
Up to $2,000
Yeah.
is the match, but they can continue to grow.
Correct.
And then in addition to the home funded, there's this other little caveat called, I'm going to lose my voice, I'm sorry, called Up It. And Up It is a link to about, I think it's like 4,000 different
Yeah.
realtors. And they're big realtors. We're talking like Home Depot
Retail.
and Target. Yes,
Yeah.
at retail. You shop through that link. So you just go through this little home funded link, right, of yours, because you have your own link. Then you go, it takes you to the website, you pick whatever realtor you want. I do this all the time for Target. And I do this for my own clients who are using it. So, I might as well just go down the list and keep them all in a row and keep doing it. A percentage of whatever you purchased will then also be donated towards, their home buying. So depending on the realtor, it's as little as 1%, as much as 10%. I believe like I do a Home Depot too, I think it's 7%. So you spend $100 at Home Depot, the person that you're, going through, the person you're raising money for, gets $7. It adds up very quickly. So Amy and I have a few clients who are currently in the program, and within a couple months, I think most of them got over $2,000. We have quite a few that are in like the $3,600, and of which they've spent zero of their own money. Mm-hmm. So the more time you have to dedicate to this program, the better. That's why we think it's great for people who are getting engaged and married, because they have all the time in the world, right? If you're trying to come up with a whole bunch of money and you're moving in 8 weeks, this is not going to be the program for you.
Right.
Yeah, the term free money is thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
Grant.
But this is actual free
It
money
is.
to you when we are giving you a free $2,000.
Right.
So there is, so whenever people say something's free, there's usually a catch to it. There's no catch to this. We are going to go ahead and give you maximum $2,000 if you're on this program.
Yes, absolutely. And like I said, most of the money going in there, kind of like crowdfunding. We all know what crowdfunding is. Everybody knows what GoFundMe is. Think about this very similar process to buy a house. So especially helpful for people who just got married, people who just graduated.
Really, it's for anyone.
It is for
because like a
anybody.
lot of times, like when it comes to, when people are buying a house, right? If let's just say someone doesn't qualify for down payment, let's say they do. Who cares, right? But you don't have to ask really for, I need a $5,000 gift from you, right? This gives everyone an opportunity to really contribute to your future. Because even if you're like you're getting married, no one's gonna be like, hey, what's up on that toaster oven I got you, right? But people are going to be excited about contributing to your future, to your home, and these funds do not expire.
Correct.
And the other caveat of it is you want to make sure that this fund has been established before you're under contract. This
Correct.
isn't one of those things where you're going to have hungry eye syndrome, you fall in love with the house, then you want to start going backwards. The sooner you have the conversation with us, because this is proprietary, like there's no one other lender has this program that we can offer you. But the sooner you have the conversation, we can set you up on these funds. Every time you share it on Facebook, that's $2 or $10. Okay, so they did up it, so it's $10.
Social media, any social media shares $10.
We're trying to find ways to give you money, people.
Yes. You just got to do it.
Let's talk about the next step then. Again, you use this with your down payment assistance because we all know that it's going to take more than $3,600 to close on a purchase.
You can use it with other down payment assistance programs except Mishta. I can't use it with bond loans.
Can't do it with bond loans.
So
But let's
everything
just
bucks.
There's
you can
other
still
down
get
payment
no
assistance
wall,
besides
right,
bond.
that you know
now,
we're
and
national
one
fee.
other thing that's super cool, let's just say you set up the home fund it, and let's just say you wanted to switch to a MISDA program for whatever reason.
Correct.
That money that was raised for you by everyone else
Still yours.
Still goes back to you. You just lose the $2,000 that we're going to contribute.
Right.
So the money just sits in this account. It's building. It's not interest bearing, but whatever donations you have received from family, friends, aunts, uncles, coworkers, this opens up the door. It blows the doors off because normally only a family member or close family friend.
It used to be that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
So now,
anybody.
yes, now anyone can, contribute towards your funds. So this is a unique program that is going to help you get to where you're going as quickly as possible, but you have to have these conversations as soon as
So
possible.
compared to 25 years ago,
Yeah.
when there were very few down payment assistance programs, I mean, getting in the business a long time ago, gift funds only had to come from relatives, like Becky said.
Everything had to be sourced.
And then now there are so many ways, Amy, that we can get people in the homes with down payment assistance. And no matter how you call it, whether it's a bond loan, whether it's this program or different programs, we can get buyers to you, qualified buyers to you, so you can give them the gift of home ownership.
Yeah, it's wonderful. A lot of my clients do get some sort of down payment assistance, and we're really excited about the Home Fund It for people that are, even just into the future, looking at it in a few years. My own son started the Home Fund It. And
tried to
he's
get him to
watching
come on
his
here.
grow. Yeah. We tried to get him to tell a story, but
I mean, it's just unique. Like you can't. The point that when we talk about these programs that we offer is just letting it everybody know really that you do not need 20% down.
No.
You do not need like this plethora of money or this like birth lottery, we'll call it, of people that have money that they can just like expedite to you. We're very creative with our lending. We're very outside of the box. We're not here serving you just vanilla because every person's different and every financial situation is different. How you're going to buy a house is different. So when you're communicating with your family and your cousin's brother, sister did XYZ 3 years ago, and maybe that might make you feel discouraged, or maybe it thinks you might get the same thing that they can. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have. It doesn't mean that necessarily. You have to figure out what you qualify for. What are the best options? What's the best vehicle to get you where you're going to go? And we're going to walk that line with you. You don't have to do it alone, but there's more programs and down payment assistance, as I like to say, in the history of ever, and we have access to them.
And Home Fund It is just a tool, and it's a tool unique to us. And I think that, if we have these conversations, the earlier the better. I have clients, I rent, they have a high amount, especially now more than ever, they have a high, rent is ridiculous, right? And they have a hard time saving what they need to save because their rent is $1,500 a month. They could afford a $1,500, $1,800 house payment,
right?
But it takes a long time if you've only got $300 of extra income every month to meet those kinds of numbers. And so they just I can't afford it. And usually, yes, if you're having rent in those types of amounts, you absolutely can afford it. You just don't necessarily have the tools or understood that they're out there to get you in the door. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
it's giving you that buffer.
Correct. I think it's, besides Home Fund It, that's just one of them. There's so many other down payment assistance programs out there besides Home Fund It that, people are just afraid, or I think it's too good to be true. Right. So that's why I was hoping that we would have a firsthand experience because it almost does sound like, why would you give me free money? Right. Why would this happen? And it's really, truly, it really does exist,
Right. You're going to get $1,000 anyway. Just throw it in there. Now you've got $3,000.
Well, I tell people, if grandma and
part.
grandpa are giving you, $100 at Christmas, say, hey, grandma, can you put $100 in this account for me? Well, now you have $300.
Yeah. It's life-changing money for a lot of people.
Right.
And when we get to sit across from somebody at a closing table and their eyes light up and their tears are filled, or their eyes are welling up with joy because they never thought it could be possible. And when you get to be a part of that milestone moment, it's it's very self-gratifying
and
for
they
us.
qualified on their own.
Yes, they did it all on their own.
They qualify without a cosigner, and a lot of
Correct.
times I'll get calls, hey, I want to cosign for my relative. I want to cosign for my son and daughter. No. Why don't we check it out? Let's see, because people really don't understand. Cosigning is a 100% obligation,
Correct.
no matter who makes the payment.
Right.
So when I get the call, I say, listen, why don't we check it out, make sure that they can qualify on their own so you don't have to cosign. Now, we can always go that route, but let's see if they qualify on their own. And there's so many programs, I'll wrap it up by saying, so many programs out there that people can qualify.
Right. And we even have programs like Chenoa that allows for a non-occupant co-borrower, meaning someone can co-sign for you and you can still get down payment assistance.
And you don't have to be a first-time buyer, y'all.
Yep. So people hear down payment assistance and assume first-time home buyer. That's absolutely correct. You do not have to be a first-time home buyer for a lot of these programs.
All right, the noise says we're up against another break here. When we come back, Amy's going to talk to you about these two different homes that are out there. We've got the ones that are in moving condition with multiple offers, and we got the other ones that are hanging out there for a little bit. We know they need some fixing up, so we'll dive a little deeper into that. 842, if you're just joining the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, 248-539-9797. We'll be right back. We are back, 8:45 if you're just joining us. Hey, we were just talking. This winter isn't done yet, is it? No way.
Nah.
No way. Maybe
Come on,
another
where do
4
we
or
live?
5
Are you
inches.
kidding?
All right, but if you think it is over, that's okay. We'll go
It's
with your
called
positive
psych
vibes.
spring. Spring psych.
Psych.
Fake spring.
Amy Cairns, of course, when we went to break, we talked about we'd come back with a little bit of information out there. There's 2 types of houses. There's no, I mean, there might be more, but definitely a home that's in move-in condition, multiple offers.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, right, as Lisa talked about earlier, you better make your offer. And if there's an open house on a Thursday, you're allowing this house to have several people go by. They're going to make their highest and best offer. And a lot of times the agents, and they've called me and said, Harvey, don't come out to the open house. The listing, we've already taken it off the market.
It happens.
You can't sit around. And now the older homes that have been sitting there, obviously visually you can see it's an older kitchen. We still see the cloth wiring, fuses versus the different electrical boxes. We know these homes need work and money. Amy, isn't it still a great time for the families out there, the new buyers, to get in there and maybe steal one of these or get it at the right price? Tell me a little bit more how that whole thing goes down, negotiations and what you're looking at.
Absolutely. Well, it becomes a great opportunity when something's been on the market a little while.Maybe it needs a little work. It just has an appeal to everybody to get some seller concessions. So on a $200,000 home, you could be looking at getting, a 3% seller concessions or maybe 6%, depending on your loan package. So it really makes a difference, makes it much more affordable for the buyer to get in the home, and it allows the seller to get the house sold.
A lot of times you have a family member or yourself who can actually do some of this work. A lot of times I'll work with guys and I'm like, Harvey, what do you mean? I'm an electrician. I can redo all of this. So that concession just keeps your money in your pocket at the closing table. It becomes a win-win for all parties. The seller's able to now go ahead and make their plans. If they're selling, if they're moving up, they've got their house sold. And it's a win for the buyer because they can turn around and take that house that hasn't been cared for properly or update it. Sometimes the sellers just don't have the money. And now they can put a transaction together. And we hear a lot of this when I'm talking to real estate agents. They're like, you know what? We need to look at the homes that have been out there for 30, 40 days and maybe have seen a price drop and find out if that house matches, or checks most of the boxes. And that's so key is if you've got 4 or 5 really important things, usually the location, because it has to do with the school district. If you can check 4 or 5 of those boxes, you're on your way to home ownership.
Absolutely. There's some great opportunities out there. Sometimes your opportunity lies in a home that's been sitting out there a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes they're willing to negotiate, right? Because they want to obviously get their home sold. It's been sitting on the market 30 whatever days. Those are the people who are usually willing to play a little.
We talked about it last week. I mean, there's a couple different kinds of buyers. The 2 that I'm aware of are the one that walks up to a house, everything has to be perfect, they love it, and it's in move-in condition, say, I want the house. Then there's the other kind of person that walks up there with a vision that says, I want that nasty green shag carpeting and orange walls because I can turn this into, Becky, we had this conversation with Rachel last week. They walk up to the house and they see the house not for what it is, but for what it could be. And those are the kind of buyers that are going to buy those houses that have been on the market for 30, 45 days, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the potential that's there, and it doesn't have to be this overly expensive renovation, but like that's really where you can win because like Rachel, she is a award-winning interior designer. We had her on the show last week and she bought this beautiful church in Indian Village and what she's going to do to it. And she's actually going to turn into a show house and open up to the public. But, she's an advocate on just paint the wall. Put you in there. Don't paint don't do something based off what someone else is going to like because they're not going to like it anyway. But if you can get into that home and it was well maintained, the integrity, the foundation, all of it was the structure is good. Buy that home. It doesn't have to be, you say like millennial gray. She said it's out, right? The gray, the white, everything, because that almost screams like an investor special. And really it wasn't. It was just this trend that everyone jumped on. And she's like, there's a craving for like deep, moody colors now. And
the greens are back, Becky.
Yes,
the greens
green
are
is
back.
I just tell people be true to themselves. They're the ones that have to live in the house.
Put your energy in there.
Put your energy into your own home. People come into my home and they probably think it's crazy. I've never been a millennial gray type of person. I have very interesting taste, and if I've explained to you what my house looked like, you think it would look nuts, but I promise it comes together really well. You need to put your own stamp on where you live. It is especially your primary residence. I'm not talking if you're buying investments, but You should make it something that you love to come home to every day. And if you love to come home to burgundy walls or whatever the color happens to be, then that's what you should do.
If you walk up to a house and it's perfect, you're going to pay that perfect price.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you can buy the perfect paint, y'all,
Right.
and change that burgundy wall and make it whatever perfect color that you want. So
Exactly.
it doesn't have to be that standard cookie cutter beige. Like, so even if you're selling the house, yes, you want to look neutral, okay, more aesthetically pleasing. There's always those situations, but the real people that are going to win in these markets that are coming up, because 2026 is going to be very competitive, in my opinion. You know, like if you can look past it and you can see the potential and the integrity of the structure, you're going to win in those offers, and you're not going to be fighting over the same millennial gray that everyone else is.
And I'm sure Amy will tell you, like, when clients are interested and she's listing a home, you give them a punch list. Like, hey, if you want a top dollar, this might be a very off-putting color. Nobody wants chartreuse and brown striped, right? Or whatever it might be. Your agent, Amy's going to tell you, you know, if you want to get top dollar, this is maybe we paint this room or we paint this situation, or, you know, in fact, the one that closed yesterday, you had them work on their kitchen a bit before it even got listed. So an agent's going to give you the guidance of the, you know, things you really need to do to get top dollar. It's not probably going to be what you think, and it's usually with minimal investment.
Yes.
It's not like you need a new kitchen in, you know, 8 weeks and 60 grand. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about very small things to get
We
top
just
dollar.
walk through the house and we can create a little punch list, and it's usually minimal.
Yeah.
Minimal expense and maximum output.
Right.
Paint goes a long way. And even when we've had like Mike Tomczyk on, you know, he even, you know, talks about like when they're looking at the property through an appraiser's lens, he said that you're not going to get your dollar for dollar for a new kitchen. You're not going to get dollar for dollar for a bathroom or a finished basement. There's all these different things, but if it looks nice, it smells clean, it presents well, it's decluttered like the, you know, caller we had earlier.
Yeah, Mike, you better clean up that bedroom, buddy.
Yeah. So like just those little things, get it out of the way and make it present well, because even if you had a wild color, if it looks clean and it's like seamless in there, it's going to just present much better.
It's your lifestyle. You're putting
sure.
your money into whatever your lifestyle is. It's not just an investment, that's for sure.
Hey, Harvey, let's get a word in, because you, Lisa, and Becky have been working with a lot of debt consolidation lately. Let's get a word in about debt consolidation. What have you been doing lately?
Let's do that for sure, Harry, because there's equity there. And again, you're fortunate enough that folks that bought, Amy, as you know, your clients that bought in 2020 to about 2022, that just shot through the roof. That $200,000 house now is selling for $300,000, and maybe that now that furnace is on the fritz and the hot water heating needs to be replaced. So yeah, we've seen a lot of families that are putting a little heavy duty debts together on their credit cards also. So what an opportunity here, as you mentioned, to use some of that equity properly. Take a look at your overall situation with the math. The math don't lie, as we always say. And you want to break down, if you're paying 22, as Becky always says, you're paying 22 to 25% of your credit cards. Let's take a look at getting you out of that current mortgage potentially, or maybe a home equity loan, to get yourself consolidated. Cash flow is key, especially for younger families. You need the cash flow to go to the grocery store to buy that next car. So key that a debt consolidation loan, Becky, can turn your life around.
Yeah, I mean, you're resetting the baseline, and the equity they have in your home is tangible if you so decide to pull it out and, you know, use it to pay off the credit card debt or even home renovations. I actually have several refinances right now that are pulling cash out for landscaping and redoing a couple of things in the house because they're deciding that they're not going to move. And, you know, there's like, they're wanting like $15,000. They have their own cash. They just want to use it. And that $15,000 with the rate reduction as well, in a lot of these cases, literally the payment is not even changing. In some of these cases, it's actually going to be less than what they actually have right now. But you don't know what you don't know. And people romanticize the 4% interest rates that they have. But once they have a conversation with us, wow, like I'm saving now $1,000. Your 4% interest rate is doing you no good while you continue to pay 30% on your credit cards overall collectively. It just doesn't do you any good at all. And we can talk about it. Is there other options for you, or is this the best option? And this is you can write off the interest on your, talk to your CPA. It's tax time, right? There's tax benefits of taking it out of your home that you're not going to get if you pulled it from some other asset, for example. Like if the market's down in your retirement or your stocks, once you take that money out, it's gone. If you take it out at a loss, it's a loss. Whereas like the home, it really can be beneficial for you, but you have to have that conversation. For sure.
Yeah. And I mean, there are some people who it doesn't make sense to debt consolidate,
Yes.
like we're talking, right? So some people pay off their credit cards every month. They don't really have debt, right? Because they're not paying any interest to a credit card, but they need $50,000 to finish a basement, or they need new windows and a roof, or whatever they want to do. Those are when home equity lines sometimes really come into play. They may have a mortgage at a very, very low interest rate. I have someone the other day called, I'm at 2.5. Okay. Can you beat it? No, this is not 5 years ago, or 4 years ago. But, I get what they're saying. They don't want to touch it. This is when we talk about doing a second home equity line or a home equity loan. And we can do them for shorter terms. I've had clients do 5 years, 10 years. It doesn't have to be 30 years if your goal is to be living a debt-free lifestyle. There are so many options out there when we talk about consolidating debt. I don't want everyone to think that we're just automatically increasing the amount of debt that they have. Sometimes it's restructuring the way people think about it. And we go really outside of the box. Sometimes I have people who are like, I want to sell my house and buy a bigger house, but the only way we can do that is if we pay off some debt during the sale, you know what I mean? And get rid of debt that way. So there's just a lot of different ways to do it.
All right, that music tells us we're up against the end of the show.
We didn't
but
even
we'll
talk
be
about
back.
our
Too
seminar.
short.
Well, you've got a lot coming on, so we'll drop it next week too. But definitely see you guys out at Ford Field tomorrow for the bridal
from
show.
12 to 4. And then Amy and I are actually hosting a home buyer seminar in March together out at Realty Executives Hometown. And I will tell you that is, I believe, on March 24th in
Perfect.
the evening.
Yeah, so we'll put that on our socials so that way if you guys are looking to be a first-time buyer, repeat buyer, step-up buyer, do not miss these two lovely ladies
All right,
at their home buyer seminar.
Keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket. Stoney's up with sports next. Of course, call Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. Get your debt consolidated and get that pre-approval letter. We'll see you next Saturday.